The negotiation process. Negotiation is a process that facilitates the management of all the interactions with another party in order to reach an agreement. As a process, it contains some basic steps or phases, each with a unique focus. As a project leader, you need to know these steps and how to apply your negotiation skills and strategies effectively. Managing this process will ensure that you come to a favorable agreement. The process of negotiation can be divided into a small number of different steps: preparation or planning, discussing, proposing, bargaining, and agreement. Depending on the type of negotiation, some of these steps might require more time and effort to complete. In some cases, the negotiation might even require various cycles of the same process. An important feature of this process is the back and forth that usually occurs between the proposing and the bargaining phase. The first phase, preparation. You need to prepare by gathering as much information as possible. For example, information about market prices, competition, and alternatives that you can use to set up your BATNA or best alternative to a negotiated agreement. Set up your goals for the negotiation, what you want to achieve, and the prices you are willing to pay. Define your WAP or walkaway point if the negotiations do not meet your goals. Define the place and time where the negotiations will take place and if you need anyone from your team in that meeting. In this step, you should also investigate any relevant social conventions if planning to negotiate with people from different cultures and how you can accommodate your negotiation approach. Make sure you understand the needs of the people involved and be able to understand different positions and interests. Know your priorities and be able to identify boundaries for the negotiations. Once you have a good understanding of the other party's position or needs, develop the strategy that you can use during these meetings. For example, define if you plan to use an accommodating or a collaborative strategy. The next step is called discussing. Project leaders are often, but not always, required to open the negotiations by setting the scene, then explore and discuss the key issues. During this step, you need to be confident and demonstrate to the other party that you know what you're doing. Discussing is an exchange of information. You communicate what you know about what you have researched and demonstrate a strong knowledge of the subject. Here is where you state your case, where you set the context for the negotiations that will justify your position and explain your needs out of the negotiation. Make it clear to the other party what you want. You also need to listen actively. The approach is to listen, probe, and question, paraphrase regularly, and check understanding of the other party's needs, interests, and concerns. By showing respect and interest, you will get the other party to give you more information that you can use to leverage your position. After they have stated their case, you can ask more questions to probe and get more information. In this step, you need to discover their beliefs, their values, preferences, and if possible, figure out their approach or negotiation strategy. In this step, both parties make their proposal. If you start, this is where you place your anchor or position from which the negotiation will start. You need to communicate clearly and openly what are your terms and conditions of your proposal. During proposing, it's expected that some arguing will occur as both parties try to strengthen their position. The proposal may be on general or specific terms and will be used to have a sense of the other party's willingness to negotiate on particular areas or items. After both parties had a time to listen to each other's proposal, there may be some discussions to clarify the proposals. Here, you can strengthen your argument by explaining the rationale behind your proposal. Using some evidence to make your position stronger will help frame your proposal. You can provide additional information that supports your proposal or makes a stronger emotional case about your position. Take the time to understand their proposal and the points they make to sustain it. You can use some of those arguments to find areas of agreement. The bargaining step could be said to be the most important of the 5 steps. This is where most of the work is done by both parties. This is where the actual deal will begin to take shape and the terms and conditions of the agreement are laid down. In the bargaining step, you will need to be prepared for trade-offs. It's expected that both parties will have some flexibility to accommodate to each other's needs and can come out to an agreement. This means that you should be open to compromise on certain aspects of your initial position. It's important that both parties try to maintain an element of flexibility until they can reach an agreement that is acceptable to both. In this step, you will use information about your partner to try to bring the other party's proposal closer to your goal. This will mean that each party will therefore have to give up something to gain something in return. It's essential for you to always have an open mind and be tactful, while at the same time not giving away too much and settling for less. In this step, you aim to build a potential solution, make some trade-offs and concessions, and proposing alternatives, which may take you one step back in the process. The final step is where the last few adjustments to the deal are made by the parties involved before closing the deal and placing their trust in each other, and for each to fulfill their role. Here you agree on the details, you summarize all the points of the deal. That includes the concessions both parties made and the final terms and conditions of the agreement. Once the final details are completed, you can now confirm the agreement. The agreement outcome needs to be communicated to all parties and the consequences incorporated in the final agreement, such as a formal document or a contract. In some negotiations, it will mean the step of the legal commitment where both parties sign a legally binding document. When this is done, it's time to start fulfilling the commitment made by both parties. Depending on the social norms and cultures, a final act is shaking hands signals a successful end of the negotiations.